Lesson 49, Part 2, we're dealing with transversals and trigonometry. So we're taking two concepts we've learned previously and combining them in this lesson. We'll start with our two parallel lines cut by a transversal. That will create pairs of congruent angles. When I look at this, I see that X and Y are corresponding angles. If they're corresponding, then they are congruent. And then I look at X and 153, and I see that those are supplementary. Knowing that they're supplementary, I can do 180 minus 153, and that will give me 27 degrees. So X is 27 degrees. If I know what X is, I also know Y. So Y is also 27 degrees. Replace Y with 27. And now we can look at trig. So real quick trig review. SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. That stands for the sine of an angle is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Cosine of an angle is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And tangent of an angle is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. Now then, we're going to label our sides of that right triangle. The hypotenuse is always across from your right angle. So 7 is my hypotenuse. The side that helps make the angle is the adjacent side. So A is adjacent. And then the one across from it is the opposite. Now we can find A. A is adjacent, and I know my hypotenuse. So adjacent over hypotenuse gives me cosine. Cosine of the angle of 27 is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. We're going to multiply by 7 to get A by itself. And then on our calculator, we're going to want to type in 7 cosine 27, which is 6.24. And we're rounding to 2 decimal places. And then we'll find B. B is the opposite side. So opposite over hypotenuse is sine. So the sine of 27 is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Multiply both sides by 7. 7 sine of 27 is equal to 3.18. Okay, let's look at another example. Start with our parallel lines. Parallel, we know they're parallel because they have the arrows at the end. Cut by a transversal, and then we'll have our right triangle. Let's label those. This angle is 158. And we'll call that B and A, M, N. And this time the hypotenuse is going to be 90. We'll start just like we did in the previous problem. We're going to find B. And since those are supplementary, we can do 180 minus 158. It's 22. And because B is 22 and A and B are congruent, A is also 22 degrees. All right. We'll write out SOHCAHTOA. Help us remember. And then we'll label our sides. 90 is the hypotenuse. N is opposite. And M is adjacent. Let's find M first. That's the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse is cosine. Cosine of 22 is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Multiply by 90. So 90 cosine of 22 is equal to 83.45. And then we want to find n, so opposite over hypotenuse is sine. Sine of 22 is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. Multiply both sides by 90. 90 sine 22 is 33.71. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a message or send me an email and I'll be happy to answer them.